power struggles have been there since the beginning of time. You can go through any government as far back as history can show us, and there's power struggles. And as we've kind of gone through now several hundred years of history, doesn't matter if it's a gold standard, doesn't matter if it's a fiat standard, there's going to be these power struggles. And I would imagine as long as humans are on this earth, there's going to continue to be power struggles. So let's bring this down to more of a personal level. Why do I care? Why do you care? Why do any of the listeners care?
Well, I think it's important to understand the game you're playing in order to understand the rules. Because a lot of people are distracted believing that if you go from Biden to Trump, it creates like a dopamine of change that depending on your ideology, you suddenly get a hit. But then you realize the big changes are just one policy, and it doesn't make any difference. And so I think there's something very liberating in understanding that most people think that they're in a democracy where their vote matters. Your vote doesn't matter. What matters is your money. And so the political process is controlled by lobby. And if you want to engage in politics, then you need to be rich. It's always been for the rich class. It's always been that way.
Do you think that's bad?
I don't think there's any way of solving that or resolving that, because whether you've got a democracy, a monarchy, a communist, a socialist, whatever, it tends to be the richest and wealthy that set the rules, because money buys power and power is corrupted through money.
Yeah. I love this framing, Simon, and it's one I wanted to spend a few minutes digging into this. I was on a show just last week with another a prominent Bitcoiner. We were both guests, and they were saying how the system is broken and it's not serving people, and the millennials are getting screwed and they can't buy houses, and we need Bitcoin to change the system. And I said, hang on, I look at it differently. Like, the system's working exactly as it's intended to work. Most people just don't understand the game as it's intended. And so if I were to bring a game over to your house, the first thing you'd do is like, well, what's the game? What's the objective? Who are the rules? What's the players? And if I can learn how to play the game, it actually works very well for me. And so to the point that you're bringing up, there's all this asset stripping in the banks and the consolidation of power and reshuffling the deck of the world. Which sounds really bad, but again, the question I asked you is bringing it back to individuals like you and I. What does all this mean to us? And I think what you're saying is that what it means is that if we want to get ahead as an individual, then we need to learn what the game is and who's playing the game, what the rules are. And then if we can play along with that game, then we can probably also do well with it. Would you say that's correct?
Yeah, agree. And then let's bring this right down to the micro. So, once you understand how the system works, you kind of arrive at a point where you want to boycott the system, right? Fundamentally, we don't want to support evil. And so you ask yourself, well, how do you do that? And so I believe that America became the dollar, and the dollar was created by the banks. And this financial industrial complex has been doing evil. And so you ask, how is that allowed? Well, it's through the Federal Reserve System. So you then know, okay, well, let's focus on the Federal Reserve System. I'm not going to be able to defeat this structural system, but how do I exit it? How do I boycott it? How do I not contribute to it? Because my personal belief, and this is a bit more philosophical, is that money has spiritual energy. And when your money is achieved through evil means, like supporting Palantir while it's doing all sorts of evil around the world, then it comes with a baggage and energy that I think drives you into more degeneracy, more gambling, more things that are productive and harmful, where you get the illusion of the success of wealth, but your life is a disaster. And so I believe when you achieve your money through means that are fundamentally good for humanity in whatever you define that to be, then I found it to be more sustainable, and it actually multiplies further. And rather than ending up degenerate gambling in shitcoins, you end up doing things like sustainably investing, in Bitcoin in order to try and increase your wealth and then do good with your wealth. So fundamentally, how do you boycott the Federal Reserve? Well, you do that with either gold, which is what the central banks are doing today, or you do it with Bitcoin, which is what individuals can do today. But once you've got the Federal Reserve, who does the Federal Reserve work for? Well, it works for the banks because it's owned by the banks. And so you can then look at, well, who are the banks owned by? Well, they're owned by the asset managers. So how did the banks get there? Well, they create the dollar every time they issue a loan and turn you into a product where you're a debt slave to the system. And then they create the security, which is purchased via BlackRock via your pension. So you're paying for it for BlackRock to buy it and own it. The bank created it by you signing a contract and a mortgage, but they got the dollars and they got to buy the asset and they own your real estate. So then you're like, hey, that's a bit of a scam, really. So how do you boycott that? Well, let's not buy my Bitcoin via the BlackRock ETF. If I'm going to buy it, I'll buy it and hold it in self-custody. And then what else do they want you to do? Okay, so take your self-custody Bitcoin and put it in custody with me and I'll give you a loan against it. So they want you to custody it with them so that they can mine some fiat currency and get you in the eternal debt trap, so that when they manipulate the price by leveraging your Bitcoin in custody and creating derivatives, they want to steal your Bitcoin by trying to margin call you and get you into degeneracy and gambling. And so you can boycott that by not borrowing against your Bitcoin. Then you get further and right, I'm building my wealth. What am I going to do with my wealth? Am I going to invest in the stock market? Am I going to keep it in Bitcoin, or am I going to invest in decentralized local businesses that make my local community better? Or am I going to invest in Palantir and Apple and the S&P and just give more power to them in order to spend my money in their way and support this globalist infrastructure? And so you spend local and you invest local, and then armed with all of that, you can redirect the flow of money. If you get wealthy enough, you can engage in political process through your wealth. And that's how I think that's what I think you can do at the individual level. Now, if you've got Bitcoin wealth, what else can you do? Well, you can escape your government and not be stuck in a jurisdiction that might be about to implement an exit tax or a wealth tax, or something that allows them to take your wealth and invest it in wars and military. And so this is the sovereign power. And by having it in self-custody at scale where you can spend it anywhere globally, you can start to build your own, import goods direct from the farmers in any country. You can escape a country if you think that it's getting too much tyrannical, and your wealth can go with you just based by knowing, taking your private key with you. And so I don't think everybody's going to do this. Most people are going to fall for the psyop, which is that they're going to buy a Bitcoin ETF if they do at all. They're going to hold it in custody with BlackRock. They're going to borrow against it. They're going to get margin called. They're going to go into gambling and degeneracy. They're going to go for the easy option of the S&P. So they're going to be investing in evil, and they're going to be giving BlackRock their money to make all their investment decisions for them. Most people will do that, but we need to maintain, why did Satoshi Nakamoto give us this open source code on a decentralized network where you can run a node and back up transactions? Well, he gave it for the few that are going to want to be free. And then you become the next elite, and hopefully you don't become as evil as the current elite because you want more sovereign power, but that's yet to be determined or proven.
Right. Yeah, what you're talking about, the energy, and it is philosophical, but I think I spent a lot of time thinking about that because you have to manage that. Jeff Booth talks about this quite often, like stop giving your energy to that system. So even just measuring things in dollars, like you said, investing into those dollar-denominated assets, you're continuing to give that energy to those networks. And so we have this opportunity to sort of opt out, create this new network. And so, that's what I do. Hold Bitcoin in self-custody through my fund, Bitcoin Opportunity Fund. We invest into Bitcoin businesses so we can continue to build out the ecosystem. Hey, if you like this short conversation I just had, you're going to love the full-length conversation. Don't miss it. You can go ahead and click right over here, and I'll see you over there.